Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts, Orson Welles.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beasts in the jungle, intellects, vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. And in the 39th year of the 20th century came the great disillusionment. It was near the end of October. Business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 30th, the Crosley service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios.
For the next 24 hours, not much change in temperature. A slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is reported over Nova Scotia, causing a low-pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecast of rain accompanied by winds of light gale force. Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We take you now to the Meridian Room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the Meridian Room in the Park Plaza Hotel in New York City, we bring you the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra. With a touch of the Spanish, Raymond Raquello leads off with La Comparsita.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving toward the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Raymond Raquello, playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
And now a tune that never loses favor, the ever-popular Stardust, Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with the noted astronomer, Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on this event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Ramon Raquello and his orchestra. We are ready now to take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black except for an oblong split in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a kind of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through the giant lens. I'll ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen, during any delay that may arise during our interview. Besides the ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communication. During this period, he is in constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our questions?
At any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. A red disk swimming in the blue sea. Transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distinct now because Mars happens to be at the point nearest the Earth, in opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips.
See.
Although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced, as a scientist, that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars?
I should say the chances against it are 1,000 to 1.
And yet, how do you account for these gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from the Earth?
Approximately 40 million miles.
Well, that seems a safe enough distance. Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory in Princeton, New Jersey, where we are interviewing the world-famous astronomer, Professor Pearson. One moment, please. Professor Pearson has passed me a message which he has just received. Professor, may I read the message to the listening audience?
Certainly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall read you a wire addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Gray of the Natural History Museum, New York. Quote, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seismograph registered shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within a radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronomical Division. Unquote. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on the planet Mars?
Hardly, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes, we've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We are returning you now to our New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. Toronto, Canada. Professor Morse of Macmillan University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This confirms earlier reports received from American observatories. Now, nearer home, comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m. a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word picture of the scene as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millett and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again, out at the Wilmot Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and myself made the 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes. Well, I hardly know where to begin. To paint for you a word picture of a strange scene before my eyes, like something out of a modern Arabian Night. Well, I just got here. I hadn't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Yes, I guess that's the thing directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. Must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. But I can see the object itself doesn't look very much like a meteor. At least not the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. Has a diameter of, what would you say, Professor Pearson?
What's that?
What would you say, what's the diameter of this?
About 30 yards.
About 30 yards. The metal on the sheath is, well, I've never seen anything like it. The color is sort of yellowish white. The curious spectators now are pressing close to the object in spite of the efforts of the police to keep them back. Getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing one side, please? While the policemen are pushing the crowd back. Here's Mr. Wilmot, owner of the farm here. He may have some interesting facts to add. Mr. Wilmot, would you please tell the radio audience as much as you remember of this rather unusual visitor that dropped in your backyard? A step closer, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Wilmot.
Well, I was listening to the radio.
Closer and louder, please.
Pardon?
Louder, please, closer.
Yes. I was listening to the radio and kind of drowsy. That professor fellow was talking about Mars, so I was half chosen and half...
Yes, Mr. Wilmot, and then what happened?
Well, as I was saying, I was listening to the radio, kind of halfway.
Yes, Mr. Wilmot, and then you saw something.
Well, not first off. I heard something.
And what did you hear?
A hissing sound like this. Kind of like a 4th of July rocket.
Yes, then what?
I turned my head out the window and would have sworn I was asleep and dreaming.
Yes?
I seen a kind of greenish streak and then zingo. Something smacked the ground, knocked me clear out of my chair.
Well, were you frightened, Mr. Wilmot?
Well, I ain't quite sure. I reckon I was kind of riled.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wilmot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you want me to tell
No, that's
some
quite
more?
all right. That's plenty. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Mr. Wilmot, owner of the farm where this thing has fallen. I wish I could convey the atmosphere, the background of this fantastic scene. Hundreds of cars are parked in a field in back of us, and the police are trying to rope off the roadway leading into the farm, but it's no use. They're breaking right through. The car's headlights throw an enormous spotlight on the pit where the object's half buried. Now, some of the more daring souls now are venturing near the edge. Their silhouettes stand out against the metal sheen. One man wants to touch the thing. He's having an argument with the policeman. Now, the policeman wins. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's something I haven't mentioned in all this excitement, but it's becoming more distinct. Perhaps you've caught it already on your radio. Listen, please. Do you hear it? It's a curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. I'll move the microphone nearer. Here. Now, we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Professor Pearson.
Yes, Mr.
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
Well, what to think? The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial. Not found on this Earth. Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth, and you can see its cylindrical
Just a minute.
shape.
Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. This end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw, and the thing must be hollow.
He's moving! Keep back there! Keep back there! Keep those men back! Keep back there! Keep those idiots back!
Well,
Shoot off! The top's loose! Look out there! Stand back!
ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. Wait a minute. Someone's crawling out of the hollow top. Someone or something, I can see, peering out of that black hole, two luminous discs. The eyes, it might be a face, might be almost but heavens, something wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one and another one and another one. They look like tentacles to me. Oh yeah, I can see the thing's body. Now it's large as a bear. It glistens like wet leather, but that face, ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. It's so awful. Its eyes are black and they gleam like a serpent. The mouth is kind of V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips. It seems to quiver and pulsate, and the monster or whatever it is can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's rising up now, and the crowd falls back. There seems plenty. The most extraordinary experience, ladies and gentlemen. I can't find words. Well, I'll pull this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description until I can take a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back in a minute.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening on the Wilmuth Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmuth's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles are spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our piano interlude.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed a message that came in from Grover's Mill by telephone. Just one moment, please. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in a field east of the village of Grover's Mill. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you hear will be that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia at Trenton, New Jersey.
I have been requested by the governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and east to Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by state or military authorities. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover's Mill and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding the state militia at Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Grover's Mill are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back in their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. The combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Grover's Mill, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to... Just one moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by direct wire. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It's my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phillips has been identified in the Trenton Hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. The Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia, stationed outside of Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from State Police, Princeton Junction. The fires at Grover's Mill and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit, and there is no sign of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Harry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from the state militia of Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facilities. In view of the gravity of the situation, and believing that radio has a responsibility to serve in the public interest at all times, we are turning over our facilities to the state militia at Trenton.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps, attached to the state militia, now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Grover's Mill. Situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies in a pit directly below our position, surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry, without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. Looks almost like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River, probably fire started by campers. Well, we ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust and it'll all be over. Now, wait a minute. I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of the Wilmot Farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on an old metal tube. A tub, rather. Well, wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal, kind of a shield-like affair rising up out of the cylinder. going higher and higher. What? It's standing on legs, actually rearing up on a sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees, and the searchlights are on it. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover Mills has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia discontinued, except routing some of the trains through Allerton and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled Philadelphia, Camden, and Trenton. It is estimated to twice their normal population. Martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. At this time, we take you to Washington for a special broadcast on the national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We're informed that the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effect of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment. Here's a special bulletin, New York. Cables have been received from English, French, and German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The majority voiced the opinion that the enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines. There have been several attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared he was lost in the recent battle. Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report 3 Martian machines visible above treetops, moving north toward Somerville with population fleeing ahead of them. The heat ray is not in use, although advancing at express train speed, invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and countryside. However, they stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society. Here is a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled on a second cylinder similar to the first, embedded in the great swamp 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding from Newark to blow up the second invading unit before the cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine rigged. They are taking up a position in the foothills of Watchung Mountain. Another bulletin from Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines, now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines also sighted by telephone operator east of Middlesex within 10 miles of Plainfield. Here's a bulletin from Winston-Field, Long Island. A fleet of Army bombers carrying heavy explosives flying north in pursuit of enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep the speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes?
We've run special wires to the artillery line and adjacent villages to give you direct reports in the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery, located in the Watchung Mountains.
Range 32 meters.
32 meters.
Projection 39 degrees.
39 degrees.
Fire!
140 yards to the right, sir.
Shift range 31 meters.
31 meters.
Projection 37 degrees.
37 degrees.
Fire!
Hit, sir. Got the tripod of one of them. They've stopped. The others are trying to repair it.
Quick, get the range. Shift 50-30 meters.
30 meters.
Projection 27 degrees.
27 degrees.
Fire!
Can see the shell land, sir. Letting off a smoke.
What is it?
Black smoke, sir. Moving this way. Lying close to the ground. Moving fast.
Put on gas masks. Get ready to fire. Shift to 24 meters.
24 meters.
Projection 24 degrees.
24 degrees.
Fire!
Still can't see, sir. Smoke's coming nearer.
Get the range.
50 feet. Meters.
23 meters.
23 meters. Projection 22 degrees.
22 degrees.
Army bombing plane V-843 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Vogt, commanding 8 bombers, reporting to Commander Fairfax, Langham Field. This is Vogt reporting to Commander Fairfax, Langham Field. Enemy tripod machines now in sight. Reinforced by 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder. 6 altogether. 1 machine partially crippled. Believed hit by shell from Army gun in Watchung Mountains. Guns now appear silent. A heavy black fog hanging close to the earth of extreme density, nature unknown. No sign of heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Another straddles the Pulaski Skyway. Evident objective is New York City. They're pushing down a high-tension power station. The machines are close together now, and we're ready to attack. Planes circling, ready to strike. A 1,000 yards and we'll be over the first. $800 yards. $600. $400. 200. There they go. The giant arm raised. Green flash. They're spraying us with flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. No chance to release bombs. Only one thing left. Drop on them, plane and all. We're diving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. 8.
This is Bayonne, New Jersey, calling Langham Field. This is Bayonne, New Jersey, calling Langham Field. Come in, please.
This is Langham Field. Go ahead.
8 Army bombers in engagement with enemy tripod machines over Jersey Flats. Engines incapacitated by heat ray. All crashed. 1 enemy machine destroyed. Enemy now discharging heavy black smoke in direction of...
This is Newark, New Jersey. This is Newark, New Jersey. Warning. poisonous black smoke pouring in from Jersey marshes. Reaches South Street. Gas masks useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Automobiles use routes 7, 23, 24. Avoid congested areas. Smoke now spreading over Raymond Boulevard.
"2X2L calling CQ, 2X2L calling CQ, 2X2L calling 8X3R. Come in, please.
This is 8X3R coming back at 2X2L.
How's reception? K, please. Where are you, 8X3R? What's the matter? Where are you?
I'm speaking from the roof of Broadcasting Building. New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchison River Parkway is still kept open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island, hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army is wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end. People are holding service here below us in the cathedral. Now I look down the harbor, all manner of boats, overloaded with fleeing population pulling out from docks. Streets are all jammed. Noise and crowds like New Year's Eve in city. Wait a minute, the enemy's now in sight above the Palisades. Five great machines. First one is crossing the river. I can see it from here, wading the Hudson like a man wading through a brook. A bulletin is handed me. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One outside of Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. Seem to be time and space. Now the first machine reaches the shore. He stands watching, looking over the city. His steel, cowlish head is even with the skyscrapers. He waits for the others. They rise like a line of new towers on the city's west side. Now they're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running toward the East River, thousands of them, dropping in like rats. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 6th Avenue. 5th Avenue. 100 yards away. 50 feet.
L calling CQ. 2X2L calling CQ. 2X2L calling CQ, New York.
Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone? 2X2L.
You are listening to a CBS presentation of Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in an original dramatization of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. The performance will continue after a brief intermission. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, starring Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air.
As I set down these notes on paper, I'm obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living man on Earth. I've been hiding in this empty house near Grover's Mill, a small island of daylight cut off by the black smoke from the rest of the world. All that happened before the arrival of these monstrous creatures in the world now seems part of another life. A life that has no continuity with the present. Furtive existence of the lonely derelict who pencils these words on the back of some astronomical notes bearing the signature of Richard Pearson. I look down at my blackened hands, my torn shoes, my tattered clothes, and I try to connect them with a professor who lives at Princeton and who, on the night of October 20th, glimpsed through his telescope an orange splash of light on a distant planet. My wife, my colleagues, my students, my books, my observatory, my world. Where are they? Did they ever exist? Am I Richard Pearson? What day is it? Do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human hands left to wind the clocks? In writing down my daily life, I tell myself I shall preserve human history between the dark covers of this little book that was meant to record the movements of the stars. But to write, I must live, and to live, I must eat. Find moldy bread in the kitchen and an orange not too spoiled to swallow. Keep watch at the window. Time to time, I catch sight of a Martian above the black smoke. The smoke still holds the house in its black coil, but at length there's a hissing sound, and suddenly I see a Martian mounted on his machine, spraying the air with a jet of steam as if to dissipate the smoke. I watch in a corner as his huge metal legs nearly brush against the house. Exhausted by terror, I fall asleep. It's morning. Morning. Sun streams in the window. The black cloud of gas has lifted, and the scorched meadows to the north look as though a black snowstorm had passed over them. I venture from the house. I make my way to a road, no traffic. Here and there a wrecked car, baggage overturned, a blackened skeleton. Push on north. For some reason I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them. And I keep a careful watch. I've seen the Martians feed. Should one of their machines appear over the top of trees, I'm ready to fling myself flat on the earth. I've come to a chestnut tree. October. Chestnuts are ripe. Fill my pockets. Let's keep alive. 2 days I wander in a vague northerly direction through a desolate world. Finally, I notice a living creature. A small red squirrel in a beech tree. I stare at him and wonder. He stares back at me. I believe at that moment the animal and I shared the same emotion. The joy of finding another living being. Push on north. I find dead cows in a brackish field, and beyond the charred ruins of a dairy and a silo remain standing guard over the wasteland like a lighthouse, deserted by the sea. Astride the silo perches a weathercock. The arrow points north. North. Next day I come to a city. City vaguely familiar in its contours, yet its buildings strangely dwarfed and leveled off as if a giant had sliced off its highest towers with a capricious sweep of his hand. Reached the outskirts, I found Newark. Newark, undemolished but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. Presently, with an odd feeling of being watched, I caught sight of something crouching in a doorway. I made a step towards it, and it rose up and became a man. A man armed with a large knife.
Stop! Where do you come from?
Oh, I come from many places. A long time ago, from Princeton.
Princeton, huh? That's near Grover's Mill.
Yes.
Grover's Mill. There's no food here. This is my country. All this end of town down the river. There's only food for one. Which way are you going?
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for people.
Hey, what was that? Did we hear something just then?
No. Only a bird. A live bird.
Yeah. You get to know that birds have shadows these days. Say, we're in the open here. Let's crawl in this doorway here and talk.
Have you seen any Martians?
No. They're going over to New York. Tonight the sky's alive with their lights, just as if people were still living in it. By daylight you can't see them. 5 days ago, a couple of them carried something big across the flats from the airport. I think they're learning how to fly.
Fly?
Yeah, fly.
Then it's all over with humanity. Stranger, there's still you and I. 2 of us left.
Yeah. They got themselves in solid. They wrecked the greatest country in the world. Those green stars, they're probably falling somewhere every night. They've only lost one machine. There isn't anything to do. We're done. We're licked.
Where were you? You're in a uniform.
Yeah, what's left of it. I was in the militia. National Guard. That's good. There wasn't any war. Any more than there's war between men and ants.
Yes, but we're eatable ants. I found that out. What'll they do to us?
I thought it all out. Right now, we're caught as we're wanted. A Martian only has to go a few miles to get a crowd on the run. But they won't keep on doing that. They'll begin catching us systematic, like keeping the best and storing us in cages and things. They haven't begun on us yet.
Not begun?
Not begun. All that's happened so far is because we don't have sense enough to keep quiet, bothering them with guns and such stuff and losing our heads and rushing off in crowds. No, instead of our rushing around blind, we got to fix ourselves up according to the way things are now. Cities, nations, civilization, progress.
Yes, but if that's so, what is there to live for?
Well, there won't be any more concerts for 1,000,000 years or so, and no nice little dinners at restaurants. If it's amusement you're after, I guess the game's up.
What is there left?
Life, that's what. I want to live. Yeah, and so do you. We're not going to be exterminated. And I don't mean to be caught either. Tamed and fattened and bred like an ox.
What are you going to do?
I'm going on. Right under their feet. I got a plan. We men as men
We're finished. We don't know enough. We got to learn plenty before we got a chance. And we've got to live and keep free while we learn, see? I've thought it all out, see?
Well, tell me the rest.
Well, it isn't all of us that are made for wild beasts. That's what it got to. That's what it got to be. That's why I watched you. All those little office workers that used to live in these houses. They be no good. They haven't any stuff in them. They run off to work. I've seen hundreds of them running to catch their commuter's train in the morning. Afraid they'd get canned if they didn't. Running back at night. Afraid they wouldn't be in time for dinner. Lives insured and a little invested in case of accidents. Yeah, and on Sundays, worried about the hereafter. Well, the Martians, they'll be a godsend for those guys. Nice roomy cages, good food, careful breeding, no worries. Yeah, after a week or so of chasing around the fields on empty stomachs, they'll come and be glad to be caught.
You've thought it all out, haven't you?
Sure, you bet I have. That isn't all. These Martians are going to make pets of some of them. Train them to do tricks. Who knows, get sentimental over the pet boy who grew up and had to be killed. Yeah, and some maybe, they'll train to hunt us.
Oh, no, it's impossible. Human.
Yes, they will. There's men who do it gladly. If one of them ever comes after me, by...
In the meantime, you and I and others like us, where are we to live when the Martians own the Earth?
I got it all figured out. We'll live underground. I've been thinking about the sewers. Under New York, there are miles and miles of them. The main ones, they're big enough for anybody. Then there's cellars, vaults, underground storerooms, railway tunnels, subways. You begin to see, huh? We'll get a bunch of strong men together. No weaklings. That rubbish, out.
As you meant me to go.
All right. Give you a chance, didn't I?
Won't quarrel about that. Go on.
Well, we got to make safe places for us to stay in, see? Get all the books we can. Science books. That's where men like you come in, see? We raid the museums. We'll even spy on the Martians. May not be so much we have to learn before... Listen. Just imagine this. 4 or 5 of their own fighting machines suddenly start off. Heat rays right and left. Not a Martian in them. Not a Martian in them, see? But men. Men who've learned the way how. It may even be in our time. Gee. Imagine having one of them lovely things with its heat ray wide and free. We'd turn it on Martians. We'd turn it on men. We'd bring everybody down on their knees.
That's your plan.
Yeah. You, me, a few more of us. We'd own the world.
I see.
Hey. Hey, what's the matter? Where are you going?
Not to your world. Bye, stranger. Well, after parting with the artilleryman, I came at last to the Holland Tunnel and entered that silent tube. Anxious to know the fate of the great city on the other side of the Hudson. Cautiously, I came out of the tunnel and made my way up Canal Street. Reached 14th Street, and there again were black powder and several bodies and an evil, ominous smell from the gratings of the cellars of some of the houses. I wandered up through the 30s and 40s, stood alone on Times Square, caught sight of a lean dog running down 7th Avenue with a piece of dark brown meat in his jaws and a pack of starving mongrels at his heels. Made a wide circle around me as though he feared I might prove a fresh competitor. Walked up Broadway in the direction of that strange powder, past silent shop windows, displaying their mute wares to empty sidewalks. Past the Capitol Theater, silent, dark. Past a shooting gallery where a row of empty guns faced an arrested line of wooden ducks. Near Columbus Circle, I noticed models of 1939 motor cars in the showrooms facing empty streets. Over the top of the General Motors building, I watched a flock of black birds circling in the sky. Hurried on. Suddenly, I caught sight of the hood of a Martian machine, standing somewhere in Central Park, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. An insane idea. I rushed recklessly across Columbus Circle and into the park. I climbed a small hill above the pond at 60th Street, and from there I could see, standing in a silent row along the mall, 19 of those great metal titans, their cowls empty, their steel arms hanging listlessly by their sides. I looked in vain for the monsters that inhabit those machines. Suddenly, my eyes were attracted to the immense flock of black birds that hovered directly below me. They circled to the ground. And there before my eyes, stark and silent, lay the Martians with the hungry birds pecking and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. Later, when their bodies were examined in laboratories, it was found that they were killed by the putrefactive and disease bacteria against which their systems were unprepared. Slain, after all, man's defenses had failed by the humblest thing that God, his wisdom, has put upon this earth. Before the cylinder fell, there was a general persuasion that through all the deep of space, no life existed beyond the petty surface of our minute sphere. Now we see further. Dim and wonderful is the vision I've conjured up in my mind of life spreading slowly from this little seedbed of the solar system throughout the inanimate vastnesses of sidereal space. But a remote dream, maybe. Maybe that the destruction of the Martians is only a reprieve to them and not to us. As the future ordained, perhaps. Strange it now seems to sit in my peaceful study at Princeton, writing down this last chapter of the record, begun at a deserted farm in Grover's Mill. Strange to see from my window the university spires dim and blue through an April haze. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling on the green where the new spring grass heals the last black scars of a bruised earth. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum where the dissembled parts of a Martian machine are kept on public view. Strange when I recall the time when I first saw it. Bright and clean cut, hard and silent under the dawn of that last great day. This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen, out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying boo. Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and seal all your garden gates by tomorrow night, so we did the best next thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed the CBS. You will be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it and that both institutions are still open for business. So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian. It's Halloween.
Tonight, the Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations coast to coast has brought you The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, the 17th in its weekly series of dramatic broadcasts featuring Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air. Next week, we present a dramatization of 3 famous short stories. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
By Monday morning, October 31st, many people who heard and believed the broadcast were up in arms that radio would be used to frighten and deceive the public. After all, this was where people went for news and information, and to present an entertainment program in the guise of a news broadcast was not only inappropriate, it was intentionally deceptive. Was Orson Welles guilty of inciting a panic? Or was he simply guilty of telling a story with such skill and in such a new manner that some people were bound to be misled? A tired and reticent Orson Welles was ordered by CBS management to talk to the press on that Monday morning. Surrounded by dozens of scribes and photographers, he answered various questions before dictating a prepared statement.
Now, you must realize that when I left the broadcast last night, I went into dress rehearsal for a play that's opening in 2 days, and I've had almost no sleep, and I know less about this than you do. I haven't read the papers, except I am terribly shocked by the effect it's had. I do not believe that the method is original with me or peculiar to the Mercury Theater's presentation.
Do you think there ought to be a law against such enactments as we had last night as a result of that?
I don't know what the legislation would be. I know that almost everybody in radio would do almost anything to avert the kind of thing that has happened, myself included, but I don't know what the legislation would be. Radio is new and we are learning about the effect it has on people. A story, fine H.G. Wells' classic fantasy, the original for so many succeeding comic strips and adventure stories and novels, about a mythical invasion by monsters from the planet Mars should have had so profound an effect upon radio listeners.
In his later years, Orson Welles was perhaps best remembered as the writer, director, and star of the movie masterpiece Citizen Kane. But any interview with Orson eventually touched on the performance that made him famous. Even in his 60s, Welles was always eager to share a story about the radio broadcast.
There are pictures of me made that about 3 hours afterwards, looking as much as I could like an early Christian saint. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm afraid that I'm not as hypocritical as anybody could possibly get. We expected a lunatic fringe, but we didn't know it would go all the way across the country, I had friends who, ran out. One of my favorites was Jack Barrymore, who had a kennel of Great Dane dogs. And when he heard it, he went out and undid all the kennels and said, "Fend for yourselves," If you read the newspapers the next day, you would have thought that I was Judas Iscariot and that my life was over. But then in the newspapers, we began to discover individual voices, like Dorothy Thompson, who wrote articles saying, "This is wonderful, it's very funny." And it turned out that the mood of the country was that mood, that people in general, the great majority of people, thought it was terribly funny. Although that night there were a lot of people on the phone and the radio station who were saying to me, "Our wives are over at the church on their knees, and you think you're funny," and so on like that.
Whether on page, on the air, or on screen, the story of Martians invading Earth has been entertaining and frightening people for more than 100 years. Playing on our fear of the unknown and our fascination with outer space, the War of the Worlds has become synonymous with spaceships, death rays, fear, and the two men who made it all seem real, H.G. Wells and Orson Welles.
Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Toilet Soap, brings you the Lux Radio Theater, starring Dana Andrews and Pat Crowley in War of the Worlds. Ladies and gentlemen, your producer, Mr. Irving Cumming.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are going to take a look into the possible frightening future, as though the present weren't bad enough, and see what might happen if our Earth were invaded by another planet. It's George Pal's production for Paramount, War of the Worlds. And our stars are Dana Andrews and Pat Crowley. They will join me later for a preview of George Pal's latest production for Paramount, Conquest of Space. Meanwhile, here's our good friend, Ken Carpenter.
It would be hard to find a man who works as many hours a day as you women do. For instance, you spend 5.5 hours every week just doing dishes, and that's only for a family of 4. But Lux Liquid Detergent gives you back some of that time. Lux Liquid is made especially to help you do dishes fast and easy. It floats grease right off. Plates, glasses, utensils, even pots and pans come clean really fast. Just a teaspoonful does a dishpan full. 1 can outlasts several boxes of the leading laundry powder. Your hands stay nice, too. Lux Liquid is almost as mild as Lux toilet soap. The next best thing to a dishwashing machine. That's Lux Liquid. Lever Brothers unconditionally guarantees Lux Liquid is just as wonderful as we say. And the millions of women who've used it have found that Lux Liquid is as good for dishes as Lux Flakes Care is for nylons. Buy it when you mark it. Lux Liquid in the can with the dripless spout.
Now Act 1 of War of the Worlds, starring Dana Andrews as Clayton and Pat Crowley as Sylvia.
No one would have believed in the middle of the 20th century that human affairs were being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man's. Yet across the gulf of space on the planet Mars, intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic regarded our Earth with envious eyes, slowly and surely drawing their plans against us. Mars is more than 140 million miles from the sun, and for centuries it has been in the last stages of exhaustion. The inhabitants of this dying planet looked across space with instruments and intelligences of which we have scarcely dreamed, searching for another world to which they could migrate. Their nearest world was giant Jupiter, where the atmospheric pressure is thousands of pounds to the square inch. They could not go there. Nor to Saturn, nor to Pluto, planets encased in eternal ice. They could not go to Neptune or Uranus, twin worlds in eternal night, and surrounded by unbreathable atmospheres of methane gas and ammonia vapor. They could not go to Mercury. Its temperature is that of molten lead. Of all the worlds that the intelligences on Mars could see and study, only our own warm Earth was green with vegetation, bright with water, and possessed a cloudy atmosphere eloquent of fertility. It did not occur to mankind that a swift fate may be hanging over us, that it would come at the time of our nearest approach to the orbit of Mars, that it would begin in or over the mountains northeast of Los Angeles, California, on a pleasant summer evening.
Claudio, this is Pine Summit Lookout. I got a smoke.
Okay, what you reading?
Azimuth, 160 degrees, 30 minutes. Right where that meteorite just hit. Did you see it?
Not me, but a couple of the guys did. Must have been a pretty big fireball.
Big. I never seen anything like it. Hey, look, you better get a pump truck over there before the fire gets really going.
Will do.
Truck number 3 to D.O. Number 3 to D.O.
D.O. to number 3. How you coming?
Still pumping water on the fire, but it's under control. Unless this meteorite heats things up again. Over.
You mean it's still red hot? Over.
Red hot is right. And as big as a barn. Over.
Who are you kidding? Over.
I said big as a barn. Mac, I think somebody ought to take a look at it. Might be something for those astronomers down at Palomar. Over.
Maybe there's some guys even closer. The station at Pine Summit reported there were a couple of fellas camping up there. Said they were scientists.
Yeah? What kind? You don't want any butterfly experts or lizard specialists. Over.
I got you. Stand by and I'll check mine some.
No butterflies or lizards. Just brook trout, yes. I'm chief fry cook.
Mm-hmm. They sure smell good, don't they?
There's plenty if you'd like to join us.
I'd like to, but I got to get back to Lookout. What I really meant was, didn't you two tell me you were scientists from Pacific Tech?
Mm-hmm. Dr. Bilderbeck is one of the country's top biochemists.
Then he wouldn't know about meteors.
That's your department, Clayton.
The district officer phoned us at the summit. Want us to have an expert look at that meteor. Landed about 10, 12 miles from here over by Linda Rose.
Well, I doubt we could tell much about it tonight. Probably won't be cool enough to touch for hours yet. Maybe not till morning.
And in the morning, I'm due back at the lab.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. All right, I'll stay over. Perhaps in the morning the district officer can fix me up with a lift to Linda Rosa.
How about me?
You?
Sure. My relief's coming up first thing tomorrow morning. I'd kind of like to get a look at that meteor myself.
Good. That's a deal.
Professor?
Yes?
Those trout do smell awful good, don't they?
Change your mind?
Yeah. My wife always said my strongest point's my weakness. Well, what do you know? Look at all them cars.
Yeah. Sightseers already.
Yeah, one of them's the sheriff. That's his car parked on the fire break.
Hi. Fiddler, up here.
Well, that ranger waving at us?
Yeah, that's Smith. Coming! The meteor sure plowed the tops off those trees, didn't it?
That's odd. They don't usually hit at such an oblique angle.
Hey, Smith, where is it?
Down here in the gully. That's it down there. Half buried under all that loose earth.
Still smoking.
You bet it is. You could fry eggs on it.
Ooh, really is big as a house, isn't it?
Hey, I wouldn't get too near that thing. It'll scorch you.
Oh, thanks. I'll bear that in mind.
Did you see it come down?
Did I see it?
Yes. My uncle and I were coming out of the movies last night just when it flashed across the sky. We heard the explosion when it hit here.
That's what I don't understand. Why a meteorite that size didn't make a bigger crater?
Well, the ranger told us a scientist is coming over from Pacific Tech. He'll be able to tell you. He knows all about meteors.
Well, he does? Really?
He's top man in astro and nuclear physics. Clayton Forrester. Well, you must have heard of him.
It appears that you have.
Well, I did a thesis on American scientists when I was working for my master's degree. Forrester was the man behind the new atomic engines. One of these days he'll win the Nobel.
He isn't that good.
He certainly is. I think that if you knew him...
I do know him. That is, slightly.
Oh? What's he like? I mean, as a man.
Well, for one thing, when he goes hunting or fishing, he never shaves. After 4 or 5 days, he looks about as fuzzy as, as I do.
Oh, you're Dr. Forrester?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, I'm Sylvia Van Buren.
How do you do?
Very well, now that I've met the Dr. Clayton Forrester. Come on, I want my uncle to meet you.
Oh, but I...
please, he's just over there talking to the sheriff.
All right, you in.
Well, they won't be able to haul this one off to a museum.
They certainly won't.
Uncle Matthew.
Yes, my dear?
I want you to meet Dr. Clayton Forrester, the astrophysicist. Dr. Forrester, my uncle, Dr. Collins, pastor of the community church.
Oh, I'm so glad to know you, Dr. Forrester.
How do you do, sir?
Hey, Sheriff. Look here.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Borrowed this Geiger counter off a guy that just come out here looking for uranium. Listen to it.
Mind if I try that a moment, Ranger?
Oh, no, here you are.
Now, let's point the pole meter toward the gully.
See what I mean?
Uh-huh. It's the meteor, all right.
It's radioactive?
Apparently. But why? It's beyond me.
You mean there's no record of anything like this happening before?
Well, I've never heard of it. Well, maybe I'll stick around until that thing cools off. Dr. Collins?
Yes?
Where's a good place in town where I could shave and clean up a little bit?
Well, the best place is my house, Dr. Forrester. Sylvia and I'd be delighted if you'd stay with us.
Well, I wouldn't
Of
want...
course you will.
But it may be until tomorrow.
It's
or-
settled, Dr. Forrester. And if you're wondering how on earth you can put in your time in a place like Linda Rosa, there's a square dance tonight.
All right, I surrender. Sheriff.
Yes?
If that meteor is radioactive, you'd better keep people away from it. There might be very dangerous radiations.
Yeah, that's so, yeah. Okay, I'll post a couple of deputies. Is there anything else?
No, but if you need me, you know where to find me.
Yeah, sure. I'll be there myself at the square dance.
Having fun, Dr. Forrester?
Sure. You know, dancing is something I don't get much time for.
Why, you should make time. Don't your girlfriends like to dance?
I don't have much time for them either, I'm afraid.
Dr. Forrester.
Oh, evening, Sheriff.
I was just talking by radio phone to one of my deputies out at the meteor. He says it's pretty well cooled off.
Good. Then we'll look at it again in the morning.
All right. I'll call my deputies back and tell them to come on in. No tourists out there this time of night. And Saturday night is Saturday night, you know.
Hey, Salvador.
Yes? What did he say?
Sheriff says to come on in.
Oh, good. Maybe we go have a beer, huh, Alonso?
Just a minute. Alonso. Yeah, it's coming from that meteor. It's moving! Something is moving on top of it. It's turning. It's no meteor. Alonso, hit the dirt. Hey, he's going right up through that opening at the top. Like a snake. Or a periscope like a cobra's head, only it's metal, some kind of green metal with eyes. He's turning all around. What's he looking for? Maybe us. Yeah. Maybe. Look, Salvador, this could be some sort of enemy sneak attack. We gotta radio the sheriff. Yeah, but we don't let him see us, huh? No, we crawl along this ditch till we get near the patrol car and make a run for it, right? Maybe. Let's go. Quiet! It sees us! Run! We gotta run! Faster! It's looking right at us! It's gonna kill us!
Hey, the lights! Who turned off those lights?
Now, wait, don't get panicky, folks.
Sylvia! Dr. Forrester.
Yes, Uncle Manny.
Over here, Dr. Collins.
Good. Nothing to be alarmed about. You know, at midnight they always play Goodnight Ladies and turn out the lights. I think they're just ahead of time.
Well, let's check our watches. I'll strike a match.
Let's see, I have 11:20. No, my watch has stopped.
Well, that's strange. So's mine. Dr. Forrester?
Yeah? Mine, too. Well, there's only one explanation. All our watches must have been magnetized.
But how?
Here we are, folks. Here's candles for everybody. Light them up.
Oh, Sheriff.
Yeah?
Do you happen to have a pocket compass?
Pocket compass? For sure.
May I see it, please?
Yeah, right here. All right, now what?
Well, just look at it.
What? I'll be hanged, but That needle isn't pointing north.
No, it isn't. It's pointing almost due west. Right to where that meteor came down.
Sheriff? Hey, where's the sheriff?
Yes, what is it, Fiddler?
Oh, hey, come take a look outside. There's a big fire out in the hills.
Is it west of town?
Yeah, due west. The reddest looking blaze I ever saw.
Sheriff, I hope your car is outside.
It sure is. Come on.
Oh, there's the reason the lights went out. Power line's down.
Yeah. It's funny. Alonzo and Salvador were going to go back into town, but there's their car right over there.
And they must still be around.
Yeah. Alonzo! Salvador!
Sheriff, turn your flashlight over there, along that ditch.
Where?
Right over there. Those two white mounds in the ditch. Are those ashes or...
Good Lord. Nothing left but the outlines. Listen, what in the blazes? Now, quick. Did you see it?
Yes. It's fantastic.
Oh, look, we've got to get word back to town. There's a transmitter in my car.
You had a car, Sheriff.
But Forrester, what is it? What kind of a gizmo is that thing?
Oh. Until a minute ago, I'd have sooner believed in fairies and witches and ghosts. But now I think that gizmo is a machine from another planet.
Forrester, look! Coming over those mountains there.
A second meteor, just like the first. Sheriff, we've got to get word to the military right away.
Yeah, sure, but they'll never believe us. What will we tell them?
Tell them the truth. That we're under invasion from outer space.
We'll have Act Two of War of the Worlds in a moment. After a visit with Francis Scully. Well, Francis, my spies tell me that you were out at 20th Century Fox over the weekend.
And it was a worthwhile trip, too, Ken. I went to preview their coming deluxe color CinemaScope picture about auto racing in Europe.
Oh, yes, that would be the Racers. Say, I hear Kirk Douglas is great in it.
Oh, he's in good company, too. Bella Darby, Gilbert Rowland, Cesar Romero, Lee J. Cobb, and Katie Urado are also starred.
Well, those European races are famous for their excitement and danger.
And Henry Hathaway, who directed the Racers, made sure movie fans would see the real thing. He used up over 90,000 feet of film shooting actual races.
Well, they must have gotten some spectacular shots.
Some fabulous shots, Ken. But the picture isn't all racing. The Love and Kisses department is well taken care of by Kirk Douglas and Bella Darvia. Well taken care of.
Well, with Bella Darvia and Katie Urado in the Racers, there'll be at least 2 Lux complexions on display.
Well, that's what you like, isn't it? Well, I guess most everybody does, though. There's nothing like a real Lux complexion.
And how true those words are, ladies. There's nothing like a real Lux complexion in Hollywood or anywhere. And it's true that 9 out of 10 movie stars like Bella Darby and Katie Urado count on Lux toilet soap to help keep their complexions looking like a star's complexion should. But Lux can be your soap, too. You don't have to be a movie star to have a movie star complexion. That's the beauty of Lux. It can give you skin that would be called beautiful anywhere, even in Hollywood, the beauty capital of the world. So use mild and gentle Lux. It's unconditionally guaranteed by Lever Brothers. Believe me, once you use it, you'll say there's no other soap quite like Lux. Now our producer, Mr. Cummings.
Act 2 of War of the Worlds, starring Dana Andrews as Clayton and Pat Crowley as Sylvia.
devil there.
Hey, here come the tanks!
I send the area under the control of the United States Marines from El Toro Base. Colonel Ralph Hefner commanding. The gully where the machine landed is almost surrounded, and... Oh, there's the man we want to hear from. Dr. Forrester.
Yes?
Would you give us your opinion, sir? Are these meteor machines from Mars?
Well, certainly from some planet other than our own.
Directly into the microphone, please, Doctor.
Well, if they are Martians, I'm sure the creatures that operate these machines must be quite uncomfortable in our heavier air and with the Earth's much stronger gravitational pull.
What do you think they look like, sir?
That's anybody's guess. We do know from animal evolution on this planet that it's possible they may have more than one brain, perhaps two or even more. And possibly they may even smell colors.
Smell colors?
Well, that's speculation, of course.
Forrester.
Yes?
Colonel wants you in the command post.
Oh, coming. If you'll excuse me, please.
Certainly, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Clayton Forrester, head of astrophysics at Pacific Tech. One of the
forward observation post is on this hill. The recoilless 75s are back here, Carbon Canyon.
Colonel Hefner.
In a moment, Forrester. Command, Hefner. Yes, that's right, Captain. 2 rocket batteries on Hill 17 right now. Forrester?
Yes?
I want you to meet General Mann. He's in charge of intelligence for the Pacific area. General Dr. Clayton Forrester.
I've heard quite a bit about you, Forrester. Glad you're with us.
I hope I can be of some help, General.
You can. First, let me brief you on the latest reports. 2 machines have landed near Fresno, another outside Sacramento, 2 down on Long Island. They're outside London, they're in Naples, 1 in Santiago, Chile.
Oh, seem to be coming down at random.
It's too soon to know. But apparently that machine out there in the gully was the first down.
The lead ship, maybe?
Very likely. And the second one is exactly 2 miles due north. As I understand it, Forrester, you actually saw the first ship send out that destructive ray.
Yes, I did. There was an intense heat and light.
2/3, son.
Almost as powerful as the sun.
Atomic power?
Yes,
Yes, I'd say so, of some sort.
General.
Yes, Colonel.
That was a relay from the Pentagon. Santiago, Chile radios it's under attack. 2/3 of the city already destroyed.
2/3?
Yes, sir. But nothing like that can happen here, sir. We're ready for them.
Listen.
Is that it?
Yes. Let's get to the observation post now.
Lights out! Cut all lights!
Lights off! Lights off!
Lights! Lights!
Keep your head down, General. Now focus your field glasses between these sandbags.
Yes.
You see the gully?
There's a greenish light glowing over it. Wait. Something's rising.
Like a periscope?
Yes. And beneath that, a greenish machine, almost round. Just floating there in the air without propellers or jets.
It must be supported by some sort of rays. Probably a kind of magnetic flux. They must be keeping the opposing poles in balance, and that lifts the machine.
There's a second machine. And a third.
Dr. Forrester! Dr. Forrester!
Miss Van Buren, what are you doing?
Uncle Matthew insisted on coming, and I wouldn't let him by himself. Dr. Forrester, you've got to talk to him.
Miss Van Buren...
Please! You've got to stop him. He wants to go out and talk to those meteor machines.
What? All right, take me to him.
Uncle Matthew keeps saying we should try to make the Martians understand we're willing to be friends.
If they give us a chance to be.
I know. But Uncle Matthew says it's his duty as a minister, a man of God.
Oh, where is he now?
I left him right about here. Uncle Matt! Uncle Matt!
Forrester, the machines are advancing. There's some fool out there walking to meet them.
Oh, no.
Uncle Matt! Uncle Matt!
It's too late now. You can't save him.
Artillery batteries, fire! Rocket batteries, fire! Keep fire!
Forrester, they're still there. They're untouched.
They've put up some sort of electromagnetic covering. A transparent dome that stops the shells.
They're coming at us! All batteries, repeat fire!
It's impossible. One moment I got heavy artillery, tanks, and rockets, whole batteries of 105s, and then that ray hits them, and there's nothing. Nothing. Just a puff of ashes.
Well, now we know why 2/3 of Santiago was destroyed. Why, but not how.
I think I know, General. That heat ray neutralizes the mesons. Mesons are the atomic glue which hold all matter together. They're cut across their lines of magnetic force, and any object will simply cease to exist.
Uh-huh. And just how do we defend ourselves against it?
Not with shells and high explosives, I can tell you that. Take my word for it, General. You'd better talk to Washington about uranium and hydrogen bombs.
Here they come. Here they come!
Come on, let's get out of here.
Everybody out! All commands pull back north of Highway 60 Tunnel Bunker! Come on, hurry it up! Everybody out!
Miss Van Buren. Sylvia. Wake up. Let's not spend all morning in this cellar pit.
Oh. How long have we been here?
Well, since the Jeep ran out of gas, I guess about 3 hours. As near as I can figure it, we're somewhere southwest of Corona.
And that machine?
What's gone? It headed in the other direction.
Oh, thank heavens. You know, I'm hungry.
Well, you ought to be. Come on your feet now. There's a farmhouse across that field. Looks like the people took off in a big hurry. But maybe they left some food.
Look, over the mountains.
Yeah, a good old Air Force.
They found one of the machines. They just disappeared. In midair.
Yeah. Well, it isn't going to do any good thinking about it. Let's hit for that farmhouse. Uh-huh. There are times when there's nothing so beautiful, so soul-satisfying as bacon and eggs.
And the people who lived here were so thoughtful to leave us some. Where's your plate?
Right here. You know, I get most of my meals in coffee shops. It's pretty tame eating.
Well, don't you live at home?
No, I live on the campus. You see, I haven't any family.
Oh, I come from a big one. There's 9 of us, all in Minnesota except me. Well, Dr. Forrester? Aren't you going to sit down? There is a kitchen table.
Oh, yeah. Well, a big family must be fun. I imagine it makes you feel, well, as if you belong to something.
It does. Maybe that's why I feel kind of lost right now.
Yeah, I know. But everything's going to be all right, Sylvia.
Is it?
Well, at least we've got to think that.
Whatever they are, they murder everything they see. Everything that moves. We're helpless.
Sylvia, every creature that has ever lived has had some sort of weakness. Not one of them has ever been invincible. And somehow we'll find the weakness of these Martians. Some way to stop them.
I hope so. I'll get the coffee. You know, I feel like I did one time when I was a little girl. I'd wandered off. I'd forgotten why. But I became awfully scared and lonely. Finally, I went to a church. I was afraid to go anyplace else. I stayed right by that door, praying for the one who loved me best to come by and find me. It was Uncle Matthew who found me.
I'm awfully sorry about him.
Oh, I loved him very much. Oh, I could bawl my head off.
But you're not going to. You're not the kind.
What kind am I?
The brave kind.
Clayton!
Get down, on the floor. Sylvia? Sylvia?
Yes, Clayton.
Are you all right?
Yes. Sounds right outside the kitchen.
It is. Sylvia, I've got to get a look at them.
Oh, no. No.
Shh. Don't you see? This is the first chance any human has had to get a real close-up of them. If I can tell General Mann and our scientists what kind of beings we're dealing with...
All right. But I'm coming with you.
Okay.
Wait. Take this.
What good is a carving knife?
Maybe none, but take it.
In the front room, come on.
See anything?
No.
Clayton, there's something behind me. Something touching my left shoulder.
I see it. Don't move.
A knife.
Don't move.
What did it look like?
I'd rather not say.
Your hands. What's that on your hands?
Blood. Martian blood. Sylvia. Sylvia, stop it. Stop it.
Clayton!
Come on, run for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the benefit of those of you who don't know me, I'm General Mann of G2. I've asked you here because we desperately need the knowledge and skill of each one of you. Physicists, scientists, representatives of the 6th Army Command, the Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, the heads of our law enforcement agencies, the Civil Defense and Red Cross units. The Secretary of Defense in Washington has instructed me to give the whole picture of what has happened and what lies before us.
That is true. I'd like to see General Mann.
Let us through, please, let us through.
What's all that commotion? Major, see what that is.
Yes, sir. General Mann. General.
Yes, Dr. Bilderbeck.
That man is one of my colleagues, Dr. Clayton Forrester.
Forrester? We thought he'd been killed.
Let them through! Let them through!
Forrester, Miss Van Buren, we gave you up 24 hours ago.
You almost had reason to, General.
Yes, the Martians tried to take us alive.
What?
This morning, just outside of Corona. We managed to get away. We found an abandoned truck and drove to Pacific Tech. They told us you were here. Oh, by any chance, is Dr. Lucille Dupre in this room?
Right here, Forrester.
Oh, good. Dr. Dupre, I want you to analyze the stain on this cloth. I suggest that you leave for the laboratory right away.
What kind of stain is it, Forrester?
The blood of a Martian.
Forrester, I want a complete report of your experience. But first, I think you ought to hear what I was about to say.
By all means, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest radio message from the Department of Defense. To General Mann, Command Post Xenophon, Los Angeles. Scandinavia presumed now in enemy control. All communications from Sweden, Norway, and Denmark blacked out. Paris now under attack. French cabinet is transferred to Strasbourg. Madrid totally destroyed. Rome, no further word, blacked out. London, blacked out. Buenos Aires, blacked out. Philadelphia, blacked out. New Orleans, blacked out.
General Mann?
Yes.
I've heard enough to convince me. Enough, I'm sure, to convince every physicist in this room. We must answer the enemy with our final weapon.
I was just coming to that, Forrester. By order of the Secretary of Defense and authorized by the President of the United States, the city of Los Angeles is to be defended by full atomic force. 3 hours from now, this afternoon at 1600 hours, The flying wing will drop the newest and most deadly bomb ever built. A thermonuclear bomb of octuple power. In 3 hours, we shall know its effectiveness. And possibly the fate of mankind.
In a moment, Act 3 of War of the Worlds. Ladies, when it comes to wash day, the big talk is all about Rinso Blue, the remarkable new detergent that washes whiter because it blues as it washes. And now there's even a song about it. Listen.
Hi, this is Les Paul.
And Mary Ford. This is the song of Rinso Blue, complete detergent, completely new. It gets clothes extra white and clean, 'cause it blues your washing machine. Yes, Rinso Blue gets clothes extra white because it blues as it washes. So get Rinso Blue today.
And just remember, ladies, if your present detergent doesn't blue as it washes, it's only doing half the job. So switch to new Rinso Blue. It does a grand job on dishes and glasses, too. And yet, it's so mild on your hands. Today, get new Rinso Blue. It washes whiter because it blues as it washes. And that's unconditionally guaranteed by Lever Brothers. We pause now for station identification.
The curtain rises on Act 3 of War of the Worlds, starring Dana Andrews as Clayton and Pat Crowley as Sylvia.
This report is being recorded on tape for future history. If there is to be any future history, the future of our civilization may well depend upon what happens here this afternoon.
Attention, please, attention. 3 minutes to bomb time.
In case you didn't hear that, it is now 3 minutes to bomb time.
Attention, Dr. Forrester. Please report to General Mann.
The target for the bomb is a nest of Martian machines in the Puente Hills. We are approximately 6 miles from the target. There is, however, a forward observation post which has the Martians clearly in sight and which will report back to this base by telephone.
You know, of course, that you're not supposed to be here.
Everyone else has told me that from General Mann down. But I'm only interested in where Clayton Forrester wants me.
Oh, that is here.
Attention, please. 2 minutes to bomb time. 2 minutes.
Forrester.
Dupre, I thought you were back at the lab.
I just finished. That sample of Martian blood, Forrester. It's astounding. I've never seen blood crystals so anemic.
Anything else?
Yes. The structure of the corpuscles is...
Attention. The bomber is now approaching the target area. Prepare to take shelter.
Forrester, General Mann wants us in his dugout.
Oh, we're coming. We're coming. Watch your heads, everybody. There's not much clearance here.
Attention. 1 minute. 1 minute. If you have no goggles, turn your backs to the blast. Remember, the heat flash and concussion that follow are dangerous.
Well, General Mann.
Forrester, I want you to stand by for the first damage reports.
Certainly, sir.
Major, open the line of the forward observation post.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Observation.
Yes, sir.
The flying wing is now beginning its bomb run.
Yes, sir. General, those Martian machines are throwing up some sort of a transparent dome over themselves.
Uh-huh. That would be an electromagnetic shield.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Clayton,
Yes,
may I hold your hand?
of course.
20 seconds. Stand by. Ten seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Prepare for heat wave and high velocity winds.
Observation. Can you see anything?
Not yet, sir. An awful lot of smoke. General, we can see something moving. They're still there. They haven't even been touched. They're still...
Observation. Come in. Observation, come in. Well, now we know the worst.
We may not be through yet, General.
Sure.
No, there's still a chance. A forlorn hope, maybe, that our sciences can search out some weakness in these Martians.
Yes, perhaps biologically. That anemic blood.
Look, our battle now is for time. We've got to take our instruments and hide somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. Set up an emergency laboratory there.
I'm sure the Air Force stands ready to fly your equipment wherever you wish.
That's good enough for us. Bilderbeck, Dupre, you too, Sylvia. As soon as we get back to Los Angeles, we'll gather up all the things we need.
They're coming! They're coming!
Everybody out of here! Everybody out!
Attention, please. Attention. This is an official order of the 6th Army Command. Evacuate your homes at once. Take food and water and extra clothing with you. Do not panic. All major highways have been marked to lead you to evacuation centers in the hills and along the beaches.
Wait here in the truck for me.
Forrester, bring only the sonic microscopes.
Okay. Which floor are they on?
The 10th, Forrester.
Hurry, Clayton.
Don't worry. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Look at those men. They're looting, robbing.
Boys, there's a truck. That's what we need.
Stop the engine. Stop the engine.
But Clayton!
We'll come back for him. Start it.
Out of here. No. Come on, get out of there.
Huh. I told him to wait here. Couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. Sylvia! Bilderbeck! Dupre! Sylvia!
Sylvia! Sylvia back!
They went off and left you too, eh? No. Something must have happened. They'll be back. Well, they were in a yellow truck that was...
A truck? Sir, I'll give you $1,000.
Huh? For what?
Your place in that truck.
Listen, I said they'd be...
2,000.
Look, I don't want anything from you.
5,000. I'm rich. I've got it right here. My wife, servants, everybody. They all ran off and left me. But you can have any amount you...
No, I'm sorry. Money's no good now.
10,000, sir. 10,000.
Sylvia! You pray! 50,000! Bilderbeck! Sylvia! 100! Everything I've got! Everything!
Where can they be?
Sylvia!
Oh, ma'am, I'm looking for a girl. Tall, dark girl. She was driving a yellow truck and... Ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am, but she's lost. She's probably very frightened. Lost. She said the last time she was lost. When she was so frightened. Maybe that's where she went. A church. Sylvia! Sylvia! Sylvia!
He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say,
Sylvia!
of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress.
Sylvia!
Clayton.
In Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver
Let me
thee
through.
from the snare of the fowler.
Let me through, please.
Dearest. Oh, my dearest.
Darling. He shall cover thee with His
The mob. They took the truck, pushed us out in the street blocks from where you left us. I ran back, but you were gone.
It's all right now, Sylvia. It's all right.
Yes. We're together.
That wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand. But it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward. Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation.
Yeah.
There shall no evil befall thee.
Something's happening to that
Neither
machine.
shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling.
Come on.
For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways.
Look. There in the street, that body.
Well, that's one of them.
They're dying. They're dying everywhere.
We prayed for a miracle. And it's happened.
All over the world, in London, in Paris, in Rome, Rio de Janeiro, Melbourne, New York, and San Francisco, the terrible invasion began to collapse. The Martians had no resistance to the bacteria in our atmosphere, to which we have long since become immune. Once they had breathed our air, germs which no longer affect us began to kill them. The end came swiftly. After all that men could do had failed, the Martians were destroyed and mankind saved by the littlest thing which God, in his wisdom, had put upon this earth. In a moment, our stars will return.
Pepsodent! White, white, whiter teeth, Pepsodent for me. Whiter teeth are guaranteed. Brush 'em and you'll see.
Right. No other leading toothpaste, not one, gets teeth as clean, as white as Pepsodent. You see, Pepsodent contains the most effective tooth cleaning ingredient in the world, IMP, insoluble metaphosphate.
Wow!
That's what it's called. IMP is found only in the Pepsodent Irium formula because Pepsodent uses the entire world supply.
White, white, whiter teeth, Pepsodent for me.
And oh yes, cleaner, whiter teeth naturally mean less chance of decay and a sweeter breath with a clean mouth taste for hours.
Whiter teeth are guaranteed. Brush 'em and you'll see.
Lever Brothers makes this promise, this unconditional money-back guarantee. Change to Pepsodent and you'll see your teeth become whiter.
Brush 'em and you'll see.
Now, here's Mr. Cummings with our stars.
And here they are, Dana Andrews and Pat Crowley. Dana, how do you feel about planetary invasion?
Well, Irving, if I have a choice, I'd rather we invaded them.
Then you'll want to see George Pal's new Technicolor picture for Paramount, Conquest of Space. Because whereas War of the Worlds is just science fiction, Conquest of Space is science fact. The entire action takes place on the planet Mars and the Wheel, a man-made station some 1,100 miles above the Earth.
Mars? It's a long way to Mars, even with a space station in between.
Yes, Pat, the men who lead a fantastic existence on the Wheel are building a spaceship for flight to the moon, but later they receive orders to proceed directly to Mars.
And they make it, of course.
Yes, but it's a dangerous mission. And there's an exciting and suspenseful climax. And I think it's interesting that all the players are young unknowns who are getting their very first chance.
And I hope they'll all be as big a hit as Pat. I understand there's a good chance your name may appear in the Academy Award nomination this week, Pat, for the Best Supporting Actress in your first big role in Forever Female.
Oh, well, now that'd be too good to be true. But I'm sure Paramount's The Country Girl will be nominated. But I just don't see how anyone could choose between the performances of Bing Crosby and William Holden. And, of course, Grace Kelly's a cinch.
Well, there's no doubt at all about you and Grace Kelly being Lux girls, is there?
Oh, no, Irving. If getting an Oscar were as easy as having a Lux complexion, I'd be a cinch, too. I'll always use Lux for my complexion. It's just wonderful.
And now, how about next week's play, Irving?
Well, next week, it's an entirely different type of adventure, Dana. One of our 20 greats. A story of the search for gold by a trio of fascinating characters, and it's filled with suspense right up to the unexpected climax. It's Warner Brothers, The Treasure of Sierra Madre. And our stars will be Edmund O'Brien and Walter Brennan.
Oh, I'll have to listen to that, Irving. Good night.
Good night. You are both great.
You know, you women certainly have a right to complain about all the time you have to spend doing dishes. Well, it takes about 5.5 hours a week just to do the dishes for a family of 4. And considering that doing dishes is only one of the chores you have to do every day...
Well, it certainly proves the truth of the saying, women's work is never done.
But at least it's done easier with Lux Liquid Detergent. Yes, with Lux Liquid, you can get those dishes out of the way really fast and easy. Made especially for dishwashing, Lux Liquid floats grease off, gets plates and glasses sparkling clean.
And you can skip the drying, too. Just rinse and let them drain dry.
Just a teaspoonful does a dishpan full. 1 can outlasts several boxes of the leading laundry powder.
And when you use Lux Liquid, your hands stay nice.
Yes, ma'am. Lux Liquid's almost as mild as Lux toilet soap.
Ken, tell them about the way it's packed.
Well, Lux Liquid is packed right in a can that won't break with a dripless spout that prevents spilling over the sides.
Know how much I like Lux Liquid, ladies? I like it as much for dishes as I like Lux Flakes for nylons.
Lux Liquid, like all Lever Brothers products, is unconditionally guaranteed. Your money back if you don't agree it's every bit as good as we say it is. Buy a can of Lux Liquid next time you mark it. It's the next best thing to a dishwashing machine.
Lever Brothers Company, makers of Lux Toilet Soap and Lux Liquid Detergent, invite you to be with us again next Tuesday evening when the Lux Radio Theater presents The Treasure of Sierra Madre, starring Edmund O'Brien and Walter Brennan. This is Irving Cummings saying good night to you from Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, Radio Free Europe is our way of telling people in the enslaved countries about American life and its freedom. Radio Free Europe is a citizen-sponsored organization, and it urgently needs your support. You can play a personal role in the crusade for freedom by mailing your contribution to Crusade for Freedom in care of your local postmaster. Dana Andrews may soon be seen in the Universal International Technicolor production, Smoke Signal. Heard in our cast tonight were Les Tremaine as General Mann, Herb Butterfield as Dr. Bilderbeck, Bill Boucher as the sheriff, Paul Freese as the narrator, Harley Bear as fiddler, Ken Peters as the reporter, and Howard McNear, William Conrad, George Neese, Robert Bailey, Herb Ellis, Irene Tedrow, Don Diamond, Jack Crucian, Frank Gersel, George Baxter, Truda Mason, and Eddie Marr. Our radio play was adapted by Leonard St. Clair, and our music was composed and directed by Rudy Schrager. More and more Lux laundries are opening across the country. These carefully selected professional laundries use the same Lux Flakes you use at home. Gentle Lux Flakes plus professional methods means the cleanest clothes ever. And since Lux Flakes are so much easier on all fabrics, your clothes will last longer as well as look better. Let a Lux laundry be your family laundry. Look for that Lux sign. And join us next Tuesday night to hear Treasure of the Sierra Madre with Edmund O'Brien and Walter Brennan.
Let's visit with Fibber McGee and Molly tonight on the NBC Radio Network.